So in today's video, I'm going to be using a free online photo editing tool called Pixlr to do some very basic website image photo editing so that you guys can optimize the performance of your images without spending any money and use some powerful tools that actually, if you want to upgrade your skill set later, are going to build a really good foundation of your expertise and skill set right now. Hi, welcome back. My name's Angela McCall. This is McCall Media TV, a small YouTube channel dedicated to helping small business owners around the globe conquer their online digital marketing efforts. We look at lots of different technologies, the suppliers, the softwares, and everything that basically glues these things together. And through a need of my clients today, we're actually going to be looking at a free online tool called Pixlr, which is kind of like the little sister version of Photoshop, but it's totally free. It's online for you to use, and any skills or expertise that you gain using this free online photo editor means that you'll be able to upgrade and sort of converse and transfer those skill sets to something like Photoshop in the future if that's something you want to do. But the really important thing is that you're going to learn a little bit about photo editing or image editing to optimize those images for use on websites. So if you haven't been here before, please do subscribe, click that bell to stay notified, and if you've got any questions or queries, put them in the comments below. So today we're going to be looking at this tool called Pixlr, and as you can see, I've already signed in over here to an account. It's very easy. You just literally need an email address and create a username. There's not hundreds of fields. They've made it super easy for you to get started with their software. Down on the main page, when you come to this area here, you've got two different choices. They have Pixlr X and Pixlr E. Now basically the difference between this is one is super easy. It's a bit like a Canva environment where it's all sort of point and click wizards. Most of the designs are already created as pre-designed templates and layouts. You just have to fill the gaps with your own images. Now that might be just what you need, but in this tutorial today we're going to be looking at the advanced photo editor Pixlr E. So I'm just going to click on that, and we're going to be basically come to this dashboard where over in the top left corner here it clearly indicates which version of their site that we are using, and it also identifies it up in the browser as well. Now I'm going to click on basically over here create new, and it does give you some default settings that you can choose from. Now I like to cheat a little bit. I don't like having to do something 3 or 4 times over. So for example, I'm going to quickly just jump on over here to the help pages from YouTube where it talks about their thumbnails, because down the bottom here it actually tells you the size of a thumbnail image. And for the task today we're going to look at basically creating a blog article header image using this technique. And I just thought actually it's one of those things that if you're going to need to create thumbnails for videos and you need to play blog headers as well, you could probably save yourself a bit of effort by kind of investigating what your size and dimensions are, and then you only really need to design it once. So if you look here, the YouTube header image is 1280 by 720. So 1280 by 720. I'm just going to click on the create button there now, and if you wanted to you can give it a title right now. So I'm just going to call it YouTube blog header image. Okay, and what this is going to do, it's going to create a canvas now that actually is the size of the image that we want. So if you look over here, this checkered area, this is the actual canvas itself. And then obviously this black area, think of that as like the desktop that you're working on. Now it's probably just hidden a little bit. Let me just minimize the screen and see if I can show you. But down in the very left hand corner down here, it's very tiny for you to see, but it actually does tell you the size of the board, which is 1280 by the 720 pixels in height. And it's showing you that actually this is reduced down to 70% its normal size. That's because I've minimized the screen, and as I update the size of the screen, it's now showing 87% its normal size. So you might find that this needs to be looked at depending on the size of your monitor. I'm now at 100%, so this canvas now, this checked area, is exactly 100% the size it is meant to be. Now I'm just going to fully expand my window there so that you can have a look at all the different things that we're going to do. Now I'm a real believer of using photos and making things as personal as possible. So if you're doing a YouTube video, the chances are you might want to use a photo that you've taken off your camera, or if you're like me, you might have a service like Envato Elements. I'll also put the link for this down below because I pretty much collect all my photos from this company that I want to use. So let me just make a decision now. Let's put let's just random pick a garden photo. There's a nice photo. There we go. Let's just use this one for a second. And I'm going to just download it. And then what we can do is we can bring it in to our canvas. Now, the interesting thing here is to look at the pixels or the dimensions of this photo. Now, when you're taking things like, if you've got a decent mobile phone or smartphone or a tablet, or you're using a DSLR or something like that, you will find that these days, most of the photos that you take, the actual true size of the photos will be in that like thousands of pixels, okay, and that's a good thing because it means that these photos have got so much data and so much information in them that they can be blown up to be the size of a building, and they're not going to start to, you know, get that pixelated effect on them. But it also means that they are very meaty in the amount of memory that they use. And of course, if you're using files that go through the internet, that data has to be transferred. And the meatier it is, the more effort or the more data has to be transferred, and the longer it will take for a page or a website to load. So now that we've downloaded that, it's living in my downloads folder over there. Let me just get rid of this page. We can come back here and I'm going to click on File, Open Image. Okay, let me just quickly go to my downloads folder and select it. And what's going to happen is it is going to give you some options here. I'm just going to suggest that you leave the defaults for the moment because I want to show you some things that we are going to work on. There we go. And what's going to happen here is that you can see that this photo has now opened in a second tab. So this one here is the canvas that we've created, which is empty, and now we've got our photo. And again, if I reduce the size of the screen and show you this down here, this is now showing at the full size of this photo is a lot larger than our canvas. It's 1920 wide by 1280 pixels in height, and at the moment, with my screen being slightly reduced in size here, it's only showing at a 49%, so just under half the actual true size of the image. So it's a very big image, way too big for what we actually need for our website, but that means that it's a good thing because we can reduce this down. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to right click over here on the green section, not on the name itself. And then one of the options we've got down here is to duplicate layer. I always do this because I don't like touching the original. In case I don't like whatever it is that I design, I want to go back to the blank canvas, as it were. So I always fiddle around with a copy of an image. So now I've got that, I can actually drag it, and I'm going to just drag it over onto my actual YouTube blog header image canvas. And as you can see, it's just landed on the screen, and it's you can move it around. Now what I want you to do is, before I start resizing this image, I want you to look at the canvas and what's going on here. So as I said, the photo is a different dimension, so those dimensions happen to be bigger than my canvas. And when I'm sliding it around here, this black area, the desktop, it's giving the photo, whilst it's selected over in the layers, a blue outline. So you can see actually how much bigger the photo is compared to my canvas. And that's quite nice because now what we've got is the option to sort of preview a little bit and move the image around, because you don't always necessarily need to reduce it just to exactly the size of your canvas. You might just actually want to pick a certain part of the image and work with that. So you can play around, fiddle around and see what you like, or as I'm going to, is I'm going to reduce the size. Now, as you can see here, I've moved it so I can see the top left corner, and this little white square is called like a handle. And if I just use my left mouse cursor with not touching the keyboard or anything else, as I reduce it, it retains the ratio or the dimensions and size of the image. So as you can see, I'm just reducing it down a little bit. And what's quite nice is at the moment there's a snap ability to the canvas, so that I can actually reduce it so it's the right width and move it up. But as you can see, it's still quite tall as an image because it wasn't perfectly designed, or this photo wasn't perfectly the same ratio as my canvas, but that's fine. I quite like this at the moment, so I'm going to leave this as it is. and then that means I can now export it. Now this is one of the things that I wanted you to see as well. First of all, I'm just going to save. It's picked up the file name that we gave it earlier on, and you can see at the moment a JPG file, so a JPEG file is selected, but I could easily select here PNG, or the PXD file is like the raw file inside Pixlr, that if you want to come back and edit and layer up lots of different content, like maybe add some text and things like that to it, you can do so. And this raw sort of format of this file was what you would open and edit in before you export. Now, if you're down here where it says JPEG, things to bear in mind. JPEG are good for things like basically print photos or photos for the web, but we don't need 90% quality. There is so much data per pixel that in the print environment that is needed, so that you get those nice crisp lines when the ink touches the medium, the paper that it's going to go on. But for our human eyes, we can't pick up that fine detail until it gets to about 40%, and then you might just see the quality of the image being, if you had them side by side, just being slightly less sort of high definition, as it were, than if it was at 100%. But it takes a lot for your human eye to be able to notice, and yet we've reduced the file by 60% quality. Okay, now if you notice when I've done that, what it's actually done is it's sort of pre-selected now this low quality image. If I jump to medium, it's 70%, and if I go back up to high, it says 90. Let's slide that up to 100. And what I want you to do is now look at this down here where it says the size of the file. So at 100%, this is 2.1 meg. This is a lot of file. This is a big, meaty, huge amount of data that has to now move through the internet when somebody wants to load your website page where you've made a blog article and this is the header image. So it's way too meaty, and again, this is why I'm doing this tutorial today, so that you guys can sort of have a play and experience. And what I would suggest whilst you're in this learning curve is maybe save the file at 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, all the way up to 100. Open the images side by side on your computer screen and actually look at the quality and see when it is that your eye notices the quality deteriorating and what percentage that was. And it might well be that you'll find that you could probably lower the image file to say 25% its original quality, and whilst that image is being used in a internet or a website environment, you're perfectly good to go. And as you can see there, when I've reduced it down to 25%, we're only looking at 130 kilobytes of data that now has to pass through the internet. So the file is rapidly reduced in size, which means it's going to make your website performance a lot more optimized and speedy on how quick it fully loads on a screen. And of course, you've got things like the user's internet connection. You've got no control how fast or how quality their actual internet connection is. So if they're on a poor quality, maybe out in the sticks in a rural area whereby the bandwidth of their broadband is really quite weak and poor, and you've got this really meaty image, it could take like 30, 40, 50 seconds for your website page to load, at which point you're going to totally irritate your audience, whereby a little bit of thought and practice right now would really help ease that process for them. So I'm just going to leave this as it is with a JPEG image, and I'm going to click download. Now, because this is an online tool and resource, it does take a few seconds to basically save. I don't know if you quite saw there, but it was counting down those seconds. And also when I did that, my little button up here on my Firefox browser shows that this is my image that's now downloaded. And if I go over to my downloads folder, there is my image and my file. And again, if I click on the properties of that image right now, you can sort of check out some of the details. It's going to, there you go, it's going to tell you the size there, so about 130 kilobytes, so just as it was advising us a moment ago, so nothing's changed there. And you can see some of the details and the original size of the image and that kind of thing, and the number of pixels and all the other bits and pieces that you might want to know about. Now, this is a good process for web optimization, but obviously if you are going to use this same image and you want to put it in like a brochure or something like that, you're going to need to export it again, but this time keeping the quality at 100%, so it is really good quality for the printer, because the print world has its own sets sets of rules and regulations in order to get those quality, crisp images printed on paper for you. So I just wanted to run that through you today. It's an extremely basic tutorial, but the idea is that actually if you're going to be churning out photos, which if you're publishing things like blog articles, you need at least 2 to 3 images in your blog article to help optimize it for search engine rankings and that kind of thing, then this is a very quick, fast technique that you can use. It's not going to cost you anything, and of course if you're using your own photos from your camera and you've downloaded them to a file that you can access ready to use on Pixlr, then you know the world's your oyster. You don't always have to use photo libraries like I have done today. So I know this was a quick, short, sharp and fancy little tutorial for you, but I hope you found it useful. I hope you found it enjoyable. If you do have any questions, please put the comments below. Click that bell to stay notified, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on another video real soon.